Got dropped into a ghost story, still gotta work. By GM.
Chapter 6. New merch. And if it's saying it's unlocked, that means I can use another one of the merch I bought. Based on what criteria, though? I wanted to click on the floating notepad immediately, but then I remembered I was still sitting in the middle of the lecture hall. Not to mention, I could feel people glancing at me since the host had called me out as the top performer. Let's leave first and check it out later. The event seemed to be wrapping up so I could head home. Wait. I suddenly realized something critically important. Do I even have a home here? I quickly pulled out my smartphone and started checking my records. Just like that, all traces of my previous job and work history had vanished. Even my family's contact information was wiped out. Please no. The only records left were from my college days, which at least matched my memories, giving me a moment of relief. But the problem is, I lived in a dorm during college. And I had a tough time getting my own place after graduation because of some schedule mix-ups. As expected, the most recent record I could find was a text conversation about going to see rental apartments, and a chat with a friend complaining about staying in a motel because his studio lease fell through. I raised my head and glanced at the screen still floating in the lecture hall. Or rather, I focused on one word at the bottom of the screen. Employee benefit miscellaneous. Company housing. Benefit, I might as well take full advantage, right? The company housing benefit was processed shockingly fast. Hello. Hello. In less than an hour after inquiring at the front desk, I was assigned a room number, given a key, and even an address. The location wasn't bad either. Of course, it wasn't out of the goodness of their hearts to make things convenient for employees. If they want to exploit me around the clock, it makes sense to keep the wage slaves nearby. Still, the building looked like a decent officetel. It was clean, recently remodeled, and had solid security. Considering company housing is usually a perk for working in remote areas, this was absurdly generous. This company just made me go through a death survival game, so sure, why not move in? But this cynical thought became reality soon enough. When I bumped into Go Yeonjun outside the officetel, she told me, "Did you hear? 7 of us got company housing." That's over half of us. It seemed like Go Yeonjun had also come here to move in. They gave me a sheepish look, noticing my stare. It's a bit scary, but since we're already hired, turning down a free place near the subway would be hard to justify. Right. Exactly. In capitalism, money is the scariest thing. Saving 1.2 million won a month, anyone would move in pretending to be crazy. Approx 900 USD. Of course, there was a more crucial reason behind this. It seems like those who came from outside, the city got notified about the housing and signed up as soon as they were hired. That makes sense. Now I understand. The new hires had already celebrated and accepted the housing, making it hard for them to back out. I had wondered how they arranged my room so quickly, but now it made sense. The room I'm getting must have belonged to one of the new hires who didn't survive the death game. The thought sent a chill down my spine, making me feel a little ashamed. Anyway, after exchanging a few more words with Go Yeonjun, I headed up to the 12th floor, where my room was located. So far, so good. The problem? The officetel unit had 2 rooms, and my roommate was Baek Sahyun. Baek Sahyun was sitting in the living room. He had a medical eye patch over one eye, suggesting he'd received some sort of treatment, probably from the company, not a hospital, considering the timing. I quietly nodded to acknowledge him and started heading to my room when... Hey. What? Hey. I stopped in my tracks. Baek Sahyun flinched when I responded, but, fueled by anger, he glared at me and spoke. You must have enjoyed watching, while I had to gouge out a perfectly good eye because of that damn lost item, It seemed he thought I'd known about the lost item, and just stood by to watch him get his eye taken out. He's the one who ran off on his own, and now he's blaming me. He was perfectly fine punching someone else's eye out, but when it came to his own, I was supposed to help him. What a creative way to twist the situation. But at that moment, I realized something. If I responded apologetically, saying, "Well, you suddenly ran out, so," or, "Why are you speaking informally all of a sudden, teacher?" it would only make him feel more justified and lead to more nonsense. There's a term I learned from dealing with difficult clients for people like Baek Deoksu. We call them creationist complainers. They make up situations in their head and stubbornly cling to them. With people like this, explanations don't work. It's better to just, "Oh, I found it pretty amusing." Going on the offensive is the best strategy here. I walked right up to Baek Deoksu and gripped his shoulder firmly. "Thanks for that, I had a great time. Is this what they call a dopamine rush?" "WH. Make sure to share more good news with me. Actually, I hope we work together." "Work's going to be a blast." "That should do it." Now he probably thinks I'm crazy. Given his behavior so far, and his performance in Dark Exploration records. Baek Deoksu seems like the type who, if he realized the other person was scared, would push them into a corner even more. In that case, it's better to plant the impression of, "I should stay away from this guy." Consider it a bit of bluffing, too. I patted Baek Deoksu's shoulder a couple of times, then stood up and walked toward my room without looking back. As long as he doesn't stab me in my sleep, I'll be fine. Of course, I was bluffing a bit just now. The likelihood of working together with someone from the same squad is extremely low. What company forms squads of only new hires? They split us up and assign us to different squads. It's like a balancing act, similar to that famous ninja manga, assigning people based on their skills. And besides, I was called first, and Baek Deoksu was called second. So he probably did well in the evaluations too, which makes it even less likely we'll end up on the same squad. We won't be working together for a while. Let's just act like we don't exist to each other. Click. I entered my assigned room with a sense of relief. Who? The clean room had fresh bedding, a desk, and even a private bathroom. There was a guidebook hanging on the door. If I apply, they'll change my bedding and clean the room every week for just 100,000 won a month. This company's over-the-top benefits seem designed to dazzle the new hires, making them forget all about the death game they just went through. A lot of new hires will likely be confused by the sudden shift to this neat, friendly reality, as if the death survival ordeal had been a lie. Given what I know about this company's motivations, it's all too obvious what they're trying to do. Yeah, they're desperate to fill positions in the field exploration team. They want to make sure none of the new hires who have been deemed capable of doing the work decide to quit. Well, might as well take full advantage of what they're offering. I've already decided to stay, after all. On the desk was a small welcome gift package, expensive snacks and company-branded office supplies. There was even a diary tucked away in a half-open drawer. Judging by the company logo on the cover, it was another standard-issue item. But it's from last year. Maybe it was left behind by the previous occupant of this housing unit. I opened the diary. On the first page, in huge letters, it said, "Rund. Egu." I appreciated the wise words from my predecessor, but I was already too far gone. Not even scary at this point. Just another chapter in the horrors of corporate life, huh? My sense of camaraderie with the author of this note swelled. I closed the diary and carefully put it back in the drawer. Now that I've checked everything out, it's time to get down to business. Dark Exploration Records Real Merch Box. New merch unlocked. Now that I was alone, I could finally check it out. Who? With a bit of nervous excitement, I sat on the bed and reached toward the floating notepad in a comfortable position. Tech. Just like before when it spit out the grip holder, the notepad opened and something fell out. It was a clear OPP vinyl packet. Inside, I could see a stack of stickers, the kind usually used for fancy merch. This. I picked up the vinyl packet. Inside was a typical smiley face sticker, yellow with a standard smiling emoji. AKA the bribe item. == Dark Exploration Records / Daydream Inc. / items. Smiley sticker. A salesperson's best friend. When attached to a sentient being, it induces mild feelings of friendliness toward the user. Unlock requirement. Must be a full-time employee or higher at Daydream Inc. P.S. Misusing the item for personal reasons like flirting will result in disciplinary action. == Huh. Despite its cheap packaging and rough finish, this sticker was an iconic item used in several parts of Dark Exploration Records. It induces friendliness. That's basically a way to manipulate favorability. It was used to convince other departments for collaboration, wasn't it? And I immediately understood why it was unlocked now. Unlock requirement: must be a full-time employee or higher at Daydream Inc. So I unlocked this because I became a full-time employee. In the Dark Exploration records, most items created by organizations or specific groups had usage restrictions tied to ranks or affiliations. From a world-building perspective, it was to prevent rampant misuse. And from the perspective of those who create the ghost stories, it was to stop eager newbies from barging into every narrative and recklessly using all sorts of tools like some Mary Sue causing trouble. Anyway, the fact that I now met those conditions means. Does this mean that every time I get promoted or change departments, this merch box will spit out new merch? It definitely seemed like it could be helpful for survival. But really, I'd prefer if they hadn't dragged me into this world in the first place. When I think about it, even this feels like a ghost story in itself. I glanced up at the glowing notepad a few more times, feeling uneasy before finally shifting my thoughts. Well, at least I got something useful. The smiley sticker. It would be a bit tricky since I'd have to stick it directly on someone, but having the ability to earn favor in an emergency is certainly a useful condition. However, there's a catch. This thing was discontinued after some drama. Apparently, the creators fought fiercely over the power of the sticker, arguing like it was life or death. The item ended up being discarded entirely from the narrative. I'm not sure when exactly it disappeared, but it's possible the set in my hand could be the last remaining one in this universe. I stared at the smiley sticker in its packaging. Better make sure no one finds out about this. Just in case, I took 5 stickers and tucked them into my suit pocket. That way, I'd have them ready for my first day of work. First day of work, huh? I was starting to feel a bit unsettled, but I knew I needed rest. After everything that had happened, my body and mind were completely drained. I need to recover. I changed into the provided robe, locked the door, and got into bed. It was my first proper rest since being plunged into this ghost story. To be honest, I didn't sleep well. The sight of people being torn apart and the grotesque images of that subway station replayed in my mind, like my brain had turned into a surround sound home theater system. Still, after a couple of days, I was at least able to sleep through the nightmares. It was a small comfort. A few days passed like that. I checked my dwindling bank account balance and made sure to stretch it out as best as I could, buying clothes and daily necessities. Of course, I didn't forget the most important thing. I need to memorize everything. Through the memorial pop socket, I continued reading all the Dark Exploration records wiki pages I had once glanced at, memorizing them until they could roll off my tongue. This was my lifeline now. And soon enough, Monday arrived. It was my first day at Daydream Inc. Monday morning. I made my way to Daydream Inc.'s headquarters with a less-than-pleasant expression. Go Yeonjun, who I bumped into as I left the office, seemed surprised. Oh, Solium SSI, are you okay? Did you, not sleep well? Kind of, yeah, I'll be fine. Oh dear. The two of us, both new hires, exchanged a few short pleasantries as we walked the 15 minutes to the headquarters. Along the way, we passed a few other new members of the field exploration team, all of them looking just as tense, though we only exchanged nods. We scanned our employee IDs and boarded the elevator. I heard the field exploration team uses floors 10 to 15. I'll get off here. Solium SSI, let's give it our best shot, okay? Yes, let's do our best. I waved as Go Yeonjun got off on the 10th floor, then glanced at the button I had pressed for my floor. 13th floor. Even the floor number feels like a bad omen. I could only hope it was just my imagination. I double-checked the assignment notice I'd received 2 days ago. New Employee Field Exploration Assignment, PDF. Kim Solium /D Squad. Ding! The elevator doors opened on the 13th floor, revealing a hallway divided into sections labeled with letters. I made my way to the automatic door labeled D and pressed the button. At the same time, I greeted those inside. Good morning. Oh, you're here. A few adults sitting in the spacious office lifted their heads and greeted me. One of the men stood up and extended his hand. Welcome to D Squad of the 15th Unit. A woman with a blank expression and a bob haircut nodded and added. By the way, they call us the Death Squad because all the newbies die. Just kidding. Should I just quit right here and now? Chapter 7. What is the correct reaction for a new hire when their team says something like, "Hey newbie, you might drop dead soon. Haha, just kidding, tilde," on your first day? The truth is, there isn't one. No, really, there's no right answer. Fortunately, my colleagues didn't seem to expect much of a reaction from me, as they quickly changed the subject. Anyway, congrats on surviving the death survival test. Are we seriously calling it that out in the open? But are you really the top of your batch? That's amazing. Come on, let's hear some bragging. I'm curious about that myself. I just did my best, really. Oh, if that were enough, we'd all be at Seoul University. Either way, it's impressive. You're a great addition to our squad. Being top of the batch comes with its perks. It seems like the department, despite its heavy workload, doesn't have the energy to haze new hires. The squad leader will be back soon. He's out on site, so just relax for now. Oh, thank you. I followed my superior's directions and went to the partitioned-off area. 4 desks clustered together. Next to them, a small sofa and a coffee table with an old-style radio on top, straight out of the 80s. The superiors returned to their desks and gestured toward the sofa. Go ahead and sit there. All right. As soon as I sat down, the radio on the coffee table clicked on and emitted a scratchy sound. The upbeat background music and a high-pitched announcer's voice filled the air. Hello, this is your live traffic update. The roads in Seoul are currently clear, just like today's sunny weather. However, starting this afternoon. I turned my head to glance out the window. It was drizzling outside. A disconnect from reality. This radio, it's part of a ghost story. == Dark Exploration Records / Ghost Story. Hello Traffic Info. A ghost story featured in Dark Exploration Records. Daydream Inc. Identification code QTURWE63. It's a peculiar radio that tells today's fortune through traffic reports. Sometimes it offers advice, but the advice can be so unsettling that it often leads to ghastly consequences. == Did you catch that? Wow, this newbie is sharp. You picked up on the weirdness quickly. A male superior who looked like a physical education major approached and turned off the radio. This thing gives your daily fortune through traffic reports. It's a relatively safe urban legend. Twilight class darkness verified. Hold up, were you just thinking? What the heck is an urban legend or darkness, you nerd? No, not really. For newbies like you, we've prepared this. Ta-da. He placed a tablet PC on the table. After a few taps on the screen, he played a video. Watch this through. Field Exploration Team, new employee training video. Retro vibes washed over me as cheerful, low-quality orchestral music played. 2 cartoon characters, resembling the mascots of the '88 Olympics, appeared and bowed. New hires filled with dreams and passion. Welcome to the Field Exploration Team of Daydream Inc. Today, we'll explain the cool work that the Field Exploration Team does in detail. A fox and a dragon. A red fox and a yellow dragon, dressed in traditional Korean hanboks, smiled brightly. But before we begin, an overtly old-fashioned font appeared above the 2 cute characters. What kind of company is Daydream Inc.? I already know. To the public, this company is a highly successful pharmaceutical company, specializing in miracle hair loss treatments and skincare products. But in reality, you think all we make is hair loss treatments? Oh my gosh, actually Daydream Inc. can create any medicine you could ever need. A true magic company that makes magical potions. From cures for drug addiction to elixirs for eternal life, the company creates all sorts of fantastical potions and secretly trades them with the elite and political circles. That is the true nature of Daydream Inc. A secret organization producing supernatural potions, which is impossible with existing science or reality. The fox character winked and raised a finger. But magical potions need magical ingredients. That ingredient is dream essence. The word dream essence appeared in bold, golden letters, and sparkling liquid began to flow majestically across the screen. Hearts and stars popped out as if it were some children's cartoon about magic potions, but its true nature was something else entirely. Dream essence is harvested from supernatural phenomena. The dragon held out its hand, and the screen transitioned. It showed a city alleyway in a cute illustration style. But red eyes appeared in the shadow of a street lamp, turning into a monstrous figure threatening a passerby. Then the animation exaggeratedly depicted a fan licking its blades as it hovered over a sleeping person. Did you know supernatural occurrences still happen in modern society? Fans running in a sealed room will kill you, or receiving lots of criticism will help you live longer. These are all superstitions and urban legends. But sometimes, these urban legends become reality. So they're calling these urban legends. Indeed, calling it an urban legend does sound a bit less unsettling than creepypasta. And then came the key point. Daydream Inc. manages these urban legends, collects dream essence, and makes wonderful magical potions that grant people's wishes. Is dream essence the most important resource for the company, Yanyang? Of course, we always need it, but who's going to gather the dream essence for us? The dragon character named Yanyang tilted his head. Who else indeed? The brave field exploration team, of course. An SD animation depicted office workers in suits giving a thumbs up, bravely navigating spaces, where all kinds of surreal events were taking place. Thanks to the courageous and wise field exploration team, the Dream Essence collectors are full once again. On the screen, a character with thick eyebrows proudly held up an object in one hand. A portable cylinder with measurement lines. It's the Dream Essence collector. Dream Essence collector. An item featured in Dark Exploration Records. A portable liquid storage container created by Daydream Inc., which fills up as you explore the darkness, urban legends, ghost stories. The company refers to the liquid collected in the cylinder as Dream Essence. This essence is the main resource used by Daydream Inc. to produce the almost reality-altering potions that serve as the company's primary revenue source. The two characters clapped as they showcased the essential tool of the field exploration team. Now take your Dream Essence collector and bravely and wisely step into the darkness. The future of our company rests on your shoulders. Good luck. The typical new employee gaslighting video ended with fireworks and the Daydream Inc. logo. How was it? Oh, impressive. I chose my words carefully. Very memorable. Well, our department's work is kinda like that. The friendly superior reached out for a handshake again. Let me introduce myself properly. Your employee Kim Solium, right? Yes, pleased to meet you. Great. Oh, over there is assistant manager Yoon Hage. The short-haired woman at her desk gave a brief wave before going back to work. The guy who looked like a Phys Ed major grinned and pointed to himself with his thumb. I'm Park Min-seong, contractual supervisor. Nice to meet you, Supervisor Park. Haha, no need to be so formal. Okay. In this department, after about a year, pretty much everyone gets to this position. You'll get here soon. There's also a good chance I'll die before then, but let's not put that out there in the universe. Yeah, or you might die before that. Guess he said it for me. Oh, come on. Why, he should know the truth, as the video showed it's dangerous work. Assistant Manager Yoon gestured casually, confirming the blunt reality. I see, to reach her level in this company, you'd need nerves of steel. Quitting is always a valid option. There are plenty of other jobs out there. Although in this world, any job comes with a risk of getting pulled into a ghost story anyway, so. Thank you, but I'll stick it out for now. Good choice. Ooh, such enthusiasm. Both of them nodded approvingly, and Assistant Manager Yoon offered some reassuring words. Even though we deal with urban legends, ghost stories, and the like, don't worry too much. We have response manuals for everything. Understood. Supervisor Park leaned in conspiratorially. By the way, in this company, we call them darkness. If you don't want people thinking you're some kind of creepypasta-obsessed otaku, just call them that. So I won't be labeled an otaku. I stayed quiet and nodded, not wanting to push my luck by arguing with my superiors on my first day. Got it. Have you gone through the manual? Yes. I had read through the work manual that Supervisor Park handed me and nodded to show I understood. Good. The two superiors exchanged glances and smiled before turning back to me. Shall we get to work then? Wait, what? 14th floor? My superiors led me to a different floor. Now that you've got the basics down, it's time for some field experience. We got off the elevator and stopped in front of a small storage room next to the emergency stairs. So for this afternoon, you'll be doing just a light exploration of the darkness. Pardon me. Don't worry, it's nothing serious. You won't die, you won't die. Oh, think of it like the slimes you encounter in beginner towns in games. Right. I mean, I was expecting work, but this is dizzying. They wouldn't send me somewhere lethal on my first day, would they? It'd be tough for them to handle a panicked rookie anyway. I tried to calm myself and think rationally. Why are we standing in front of this storage room? Is this a location connected to a ghost story? Which ghost story starts in a storage room again? As I searched through the dark exploration records, wiki in my head, my superiors started giving me instructions. The first thing I received was an item. You saw this in the video earlier, right? It's the Dream Essence Collector. I was handed a sturdy, dice-shaped, plastic-sealed cylinder that had clearly been used. They sold this as merch, didn't they? Still, holding the actual thing in my hand felt strangely surreal. Be careful not to lose it. Each one is numbered, and it'll be a real headache if you misplace it. Yes, assistant manager. I understood. It's like losing a bullet casing. And make a habit of wearing your mask before entering the darkness. Don't ask why, just do it. Now, where's your ma, My superiors blinked at the sight of my mask, which looked like tree bark with 2 antlers sticking out. A deer. A roe deer. I have no idea either. Nice antlers, though. Yeah, let's go with roe. Sounds tougher than a regular deer. Tougher? Anyway, put that on and look at this. Supervisor Park handed me the tablet PC. So they're going to brief me with another video. Do this and get 20 million 1Vs, just live your life. It was an internet post. Playing tag with a ghost at a convenience store with no one else within 10 km for 3 days, and get 20 million 1Vs, just living your life. By the way, the ghost looks like this down arrow. I shuddered as I quickly scrolled past the photo, but the image was already burned into my mind. A blue ghost with bulging eyes and a swollen, grotesque forehead. What does it say? It's asking if you'd spend 3 days playing tag with a ghost at a convenience store for money. I had no idea why they were showing me this. Surely this wasn't some kind of workplace hazing. We're about to go on a dark exploration, and yet they're showing me some random internet post. I scrolled back up to look at the post again. Do this and get 20 million 1Vs, just live your life. Wait, no way. == Dark exploration record / ghost story. Make a choice. A ghost story featured in Dark Exploration Records. Daydream Inc. Identification code QTURWF 243. It originates from balance game posts on the internet, like, would you do a scary challenge for money Vs, just live your life? This darkness appears sporadically when accessing URLs with certain numbers. It often involves being chased by a murderer or ghost, and if you get caught, you must start over from the beginning. == What a nightmare. As the world around me warped, I heard Supervisor Park's voice clearly. Just take it easy, all right, heave-ho. Take it easy. I was about to protest. How could they send a new hire on their first solo assignment into a ghost story? But before I could scream, the world twisted, and I was thrown into the darkness. I staggered to my feet. It's really dark. The air was cold and damp. My visibility was incredibly poor. The only light came from the faint, flickering glow of the drink's fridge in the distance. Holding my breath, I cautiously moved toward the light. The dim outlines of the convenience store flickered in and out of sight as I approached, disappearing into the shadows again. Silent stillness. Each step echoed on the floor, sending shivers down my spine as cold sweat trickled down the back of my neck. There didn't seem to be anything around, at least not yet. Who? I swallowed my sigh. I stopped walking just outside the fridge's dim glow, where the light couldn't reach me. Leaning into the cold, hazy light, I surveyed my surroundings. The convenience store was quite large, about the size of a franchise cafe. The shelves were neatly stocked with everyday necessities and food items, meticulously arranged with not a speck of dust. At least survival essentials aren't an issue. Right, this ghost story, this darkness, wasn't one that physically endangered you. It was designed to shock and scare you out of your wits. The safest course of action quickly became clear. Just grab some water and energy bars and hide until it's over. Yes, I knew my limits. There was no way I'd play tag with a ghost. I didn't even need the energy bars, really. Just grabbing something quiet to eat would be enough. Humans can survive a day or two without food. Better that than meeting a ghost. But I definitely need water. There was no other choice. I spotted some water bottles in the drink's fridge. It was easy to spot because of the light, and thankfully it was in the far corner where I could keep a close eye on my surroundings. I cautiously stepped forward, avoiding the light and moving toward the far end of the fridge. At the very last compartment, just as I had seen from afar, the top shelf was packed with water bottles, their labels blurred out. However, standing this close, I could see something else besides the water. That wiki page I saw earlier. I had scrolled past it so quickly, but the grotesque outline was unforgettable. A blue, bulbous face with bulging eyes. A ghost. Fuck. As soon as our eyes met, the ghost's face twisted into a sinister grin, its eyes swelling grotesquely. Why the hell is this ghost's face in the fridge? I instinctively pulled back, turning to run, but at that moment I realized. The ghost wasn't inside the fridge. It was reflected in the fridge's glass door. Thud. Something touched my back. A cold, hard, damp grip tightened around my neck. A drowning victim's hand. And then, gotcha. Pitch black. Tag Urit. I gasped and opened my eyes. Cold air, my vision was dim. The only light was the faint, flickering glow from the drink fridge in the distance. I had returned to the starting point. When you're caught by the ghost or killer in this darkness, you start all over again. This is insane. I had to endure this for 3 days. I'd rather die than keep going through this. No, calm down. I quickly pieced together a more terrifying possibility. If I can't make it through, I'll keep resetting, so who knows how long this could actually last. It's an endless loop. People like me, who can't handle even the slightest bit of horror, might lose their minds before it's over. I can't let that happen. I needed to find another way. This time I avoided the drink fridge and headed toward the counter. There were plenty of large objects and structures around the counter to hide behind, so I figured I could take cover there and buy some time to think. I'll crouch under the chair inside the counter area. But then I saw it. Between the legs of the chair and the counter. The silhouette of the ghost's lower half. Tap, 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 tap. Pale, bare feet moved with an odd rhythm, their steps unnaturally spaced. The eerie, unsettling way it moved, so inhuman, sent shivers down my spine like an alarm. Holding my breath, I crouched under the counter. I stayed still for as long as I could, even after the ghost's bizarre footsteps faded, pushing my limits of endurance. There are too many cliches where the monster shows up just when you think you're safe. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I slowly exhaled, straining to make no sound. This is driving me insane. Cold sweat dripped from my chin. I couldn't do anything. Even using my phone was out of the question, since the screen light would give me away immediately. My only hope was my memory. I've gone over the records of this ghost story many times. F-class ghost stories often involved multiple new hires in the exploration, so I'd studied them like exam questions. Of course, I never imagined I'd be thrown in alone from the start. Damn it. I racked my brain, sweating as I combed through the exploration records. Mountain lodge, basement, crosswalk, fast food restaurant, abandoned school. None of them matched. But there was one unusual case, I was sure of it. == Dark exploration record / ghost story. Make a choice. Exploration record 23, irregular. A night in an abandoned hospital, chased by a crazed doctor throughout the night, 12 hours. Note, exploration ended after 16 hours and 11 minutes. == That's it. I began piecing together the relevant details, forcing my memory to reconstruct the scenario.